Welcome, one and all to the Daily Freedomist Show, presented by Paul Gordon Collier, your host. That's me, coming at you live from the Black and Gold Freedomist channel. If you're not subscribed to the Black and Gold Freedomist channel, make sure that you do that right away. Otherwise, otherwise you'll just miss out. You'll miss out on the glory every day, every morning that you get Monday through Friday here on the Black and Gold Freedomist channel. We're also coming at you live from Freedomist.com, and we encourage you to go to Freedomist.com, where you'll see all kinds of stories that we don't even have time to get to on this show. For news and intelligence for free people, accurate and timely, go to Freedomist.com. Some of the stories that we won't be talking about here today: meet the Corpo State Police State Enforcement. Well, we actually already talked about that. Read your Bible in the middle of trauma and reduce depression, study reveals. AI and deep learning machines are creating voters and new social realities through coercive means. And then we have Verizon to sell AOL Yahoo to private equity firm Apollo for $6 billion loss. And you see this video, by the way, make sure you go to our partner channel, Action Batsa, and you can view a special edition of the Daily Freedomist Show that I did yesterday with Chris Petko. And I believe that's how you pronounce his name. It's not Petkow, I know that much. Where we talk about Christians in the Civic. I encourage you to check that video out. It really speaks to the heart in a lot of ways of exactly what we're trying to do here through the Freedomist. And when you go to the Freedomist, make sure you click on the Newswatch page. And when you do, you get to that Newswatch page, you scroll down, you see all kinds of links that we won't even begin to be able to touch. Tons and tons of links and stories that feed your mind and give you the opportunity to discern for yourself what's really going on. We draw from multiple sources, but because we consider most sources to be some degree of agitprop going on, whether it's left, right, or otherwise. And so it helps to look at multiple sources to get a sense of what might actually really be going on. And when you're done, when you go through that, then make sure you like what we do. You can support us by becoming a paid subscriber. Also, buy the Capitalist Manifesto, The End of Class Warfare Towards Universal Affluence, written by Ralph Benko and my identical twin, William R. Collier Jr., forwarded by world-renowned and recognized futurist George Gilder, in which you're going to read that there is a different capitalism out there that maybe you could say has yet to be tried. A capitalism in which the invisible hand of the market is not guided by complete invisibility. It's guided by the morality of the humans that have any type of power advantage, where they treat other human beings as if they are also images of God like themselves, and that fundamentally transform how the market grows. If you don't have that part, then you end up with what we have now, which is what they call crony capitalism and what I call market authoritarianism, which is where we're at right now. And with that in mind, it's time for us to get ready. Let's get to our stories here. Because that's what you're here for, right? You're here for the stories. You're not here for the little sales pitch I do in the beginning, although that's important that I do the sales pitch in the beginning, because we gotta pay our bills, keep light on, all that, blah, blah, blah. So let's get to our first story. Dems lose in special election runoff as GOP candidates advance to general. This is GOP sweeps 2 top positions in special Texas 6th House election. I guess, top 2, however you want to say it, top 2%, whatever. However you want to say it. This is a top stories report, but I don't know if we'll get to how many of the other stories we'll get here on the top stories report. But we're going to start with this, and we'll see where it goes. This is from Red State. Democrats took a gut punch in a Texas special election last night. And this is an excerpt from Red State. You didn't hear much about it, but Texas's 6th congressional district held a special election last night. What a surprise you didn't hear much about it. Believe you me, if the Corpo State nationalist media had seen the Democrats win the top 2 positions, it would be blasted all over the interwebs. But as it was, because it didn't fit their narrative, then that's why you don't see it, obviously. District held the 6th congressional district held a special election last night to fill recently passed Representative Ron Wright's seat. Ron White, I didn't even know you were sick. Oh, that's terrible. Let me check it out. Who is Ron White? Representative Ron White. Republican Ron White. So there he is, Ron White. And how did he die? Let's see how he died. Oh, hospitalization for COVID-19. But he also had cancer, so he had, as you say, extenuating circumstances. There are several things to note here. This was only a Trump +3 district in 2020. And it's exactly the kind of suburban district that Democrats have been very bullish on making further gains in. Despite that, the Republicans not only took back ground, but took back the entire battlefield, perhaps signaling a return to normal voting patterns in some of these places that were previously trending blue. Well, normal is relative, but okay, such as that is. So this is a story that is good news for the resistance to, well, the resistance to the DNC, certainly. The question is, who are these people that have won these positions? And that's another matter altogether. And I don't pretend to know exactly who these folks are and whether they fit into a parameter that would have the Republican Party itself actually start to stand defiantly and consistently across all spheres of human beings, such as that is, on the Bill of Rights, on King Bill. I don't know the degree to which these human beings are going to be just like the Republicans that we've mostly see, which are the token resistance, the Washington Generals team. So did we elect well, there's only two people that could be chosen of those two. Did we possibly allow for, let's just see, we got Susan Wright. I wonder if she's related to Ron Wright. Let's see, Susan Wright. Let's see if she's related to Ron Wright. I mean, it seems highly probable. Susan Wright she's the widow. Okay, so this is wow. Okay, so she'll probably win that race, and not because of anything other than Susan Wright is so we basically have, this is not necessarily a Bill of Rights candidate. If we're just going to select the widow, if we're going to follow this is basically it's a vestige of royalty. It's this concept that individuals inherit the special privileges and powers of their family members, in this case the wife of the deceased person. So this is a win, I guess, for the Republicans, but is it really? I don't know. I don't know anything about Susan Wright, and if you know anything about it, you comment down below and let me know. But I'll just say that I'm going to say that I'm a bit skeptical. This may be one of those victories that, well, I guess you could say I don't even know. I don't know that it's better for us to have, we who resist. I'm not a member of the GOP, and I don't think I ever will be. And many of our listeners and even some people who contribute to the Freedomist are members of the GOP, so I'm not, that's fine. I don't have any issue with people that are members of the GOP. But I am seriously doubtful that this is going, my skepticism is, maybe in some cases, in some instances, it's good for us to actually have the full version of the rabid anti-Americanism in its place in the form of any DNC candidate, almost any DNC candidate, maybe all, rather than this soft anti-Americanism that you get largely from most GOP members. And by that I mean most of these GOP members just are not committed to fully live out the Bill of Rights standards consistently in their lives and in across the board in the market, both in terms of employer and client, and in the civic arena. They are very, very selective when it comes to appealing to the Bill of Rights. So I don't know. I don't know that it's not a bad thing for Democrats to win more elections in the hope of accelerating the need for humans to leave the ultimate plantation, which is a dependence on any system that does not, especially I'm appealing specifically to Christians, any system which does not in some way or form put Christ as the head. And I'm not necessarily talking about a theocracy, but if you have a whole people that are predominantly not even paying attention to the king, Christ is king, then you're going to have an upside down Christ culture and an upside down Christ ways. And when you're dependent upon an upside down Christ culture and upside down Christ ways, well, it makes it very difficult for you to fully live out your faith. So I don't know how to read this. I guess I'll leave it at that, and you guys comment down below and let me know what you think. While Romney is booed, Utah GOP fails to censure him for Trump impeachment vote. And see, that's the big headline that many conservative publications are running with, although not all. Some are a little bit under. There's nuanced conservatives and less nuanced conservatives. The biggest voices are almost always not the nuanced ones. They're the ones throwing sugar and fire. They're sugar and fire conservatives. They'll mostly focus on the Utah GOP booing Mitt Romney. I remember a few years ago, I used to always see this for some reason. Judge Jeanine Pirro, of all people. Judge Jeanine Pirro was constantly, this was when Obama was still president, and she was constantly destroying and wrecking. And also I saw Judge Napolitano, another judge, so all constantly destroying and ending careers, and you saw in some of the hearings, you saw Trey Gowdy there constantly destroying and ending careers, none of which were ever destroyed or ended, and no real power was shifted in any way, shape, or form. This is kind of how I'm viewing this. This is the Mitt Romney went before the people, and the people booed, but the people and their real masters made sure that Romney didn't suffer any real consequences. You got the booing, and everybody got to feel good about themselves. It's kind of a false victory, if you will, and that's what Jeanine Pirro with her false victories, where she ended Obama with her latest smackdown rant that she used to have. I don't know if she still does those things. And Trey Gowdy in these congressional hearings laying the smackdown, but nothing really happening. There's no significant investigations, no arrests, nothing like that. So I cover this because it's important in some sense, in that it is indicative that the people are tired of eating cake, but it's also indicative that the people providing the cake, they haven't gotten the message, or they just don't care. And in this case, the leadership of the Utah GOP, they just don't care. They don't care because they are the Washington Generals team playing the Harlem Globetrotters, and there's a script, and they know they're supposed to lose, and they make sure they lose, and they try just hard enough, like they'll let you boo, and they'll let Jeanine Pirro give the smackdown and Trey Gowdy give his smackdowns, but there's never going to be any significant victory. Pay attention to what happened in Canada when the Conservatives took power under Stephen, whatever his last name, I can't remember, Stephen Harper. When the Conservatives came to power, they should have immediately ended the human rights panels, but they didn't. They didn't significantly end any real Democrat, or quote-unquote liberal power, nor did the Republicans when they had the House and the Senate and Trump. They didn't end any of the real centers of power that their alleged enemies actually had. They didn't move. Trump could have moved. He only started at the very end throwing out stuff with this, we're going to end critical race theory in schools. But in the beginning of his term, when he could have done a lot more, he brought in the same RNC that were as feckless as they always have been. He brought those people into his cabinet, and he proceeded to do nothing of real substance to fundamentally end their power, to call into question how the, quote, media is being treated. If you want the power and if you want the protection, the Bill of Rights protection of a free press, then you have to be a free press. And they're not a free press. They're agitprop. They are political organizations, and they should be treated as political organizations. When they work so diligently for one party over another, that should be treated as campaign contributions. Nothing of substance was ever done because, well, I don't know necessarily that I'll say that Trump was a team member of the Washington Generals, but I will say that I think that Trump didn't recognize the game that was really being played. I don't think that he really realized that he was walking into totally fake wrestling. Well, professional, not all, Olympic wrestling is real, but so fake wrestling. Nothing wrong with fake wrestling. Fake wrestling, especially because now we know. But fake wrestling, that's a lot of skill to do what they do. That's theater. That's great theater for people that like that stuff. I'm not necessarily into it, but I totally respect fake wrestling as far as an athletic, dramatic event that requires high skill. So if you're a wrestling fan, I'm not busting on you. God bless you. So I read this story, and again, it's from The Blaze here. Trump critic Mitt Romney heckled at Utah Republican event. Right, heckled, boisterously booed on Saturday when he took to the stage. Romney, one of the most prominent Republican critics of former, President Donald Trump, whatever. I don't care. The other headlines: bid to censure Mitt Romney for Trump impeachment vote fails. This is from the Times of India. Collins defends Romney and Cheney amid GOP attacks over impeachment vote. And that's from Talking Points memo. They revel in this. So there you go. The Republican Party is the Washington Generals Party. And I do believe, and this is speaking for me, I don't represent the Freedomist totally when I say this, but as for me, and I think I'm aligned within the diversity of what the Freedomist is, Christians operating in the civic, until we human beings who fundamentally reject anti-Americanism, and I'm going to cloak that only in terms of, if you're against the Bill of Rights, you're not an American. If your ideology points you away from free speech, from the right to bear arms, you're not an American. You shouldn't be considered American. Maybe you're an American citizen. You should be treated as an American citizen, but you shouldn't be treated as an American, a people, a nation whose God is the Lord. That's what I say. Although you can be an atheist and still adopt the Bill of Rights, and I'm cool with calling you an American too. So unless and until something rises that is totally free from what the Republican Party is, and totally free from the dependence that the Republican Party has, and the Republican Party is just as dependent on the corporate state nationalist as the Democrat Party is, even though the corporate state nationalists do favor the Democrats, but they throw the GOP a little bit of a bone because the GOP, again, that's the Washington Generals team. The Washington Generals don't get paid as much as the Harlem Globetrotters, but they do still get paid to do their fake sports. And there you go. Alyssa Milano exposed as dialectical white supremacist by black TikTok star, and that's my phrase. I've been calling the whole, whatever you want to call it, SJW, social justice, critical race theory, whatever, all these phrases that they all have one thing in common. They are all dialectical white supremacism. And then let me tell you how, briefly, because I could create a whole show from this, probably a 2 or 3 hour show, and discussing exactly how I've come to these conclusions and how it unfolds. But basically, the fundamental, the underlying assumption that you must agree to if you're going to accept what critical race theory suggests is that the white race invented evil so that it could control the world. And then it went about and it did so. Now, what does that say about the white race? What it says about, now, first off, I don't buy that, so I'm not buying this at all. I'm not a white supremacist. I don't believe that white people are any way, shape, or form superior to any other group of people out there. And my empirical data in interacting with other human beings suggests that there's little, if any, differences of substance that has to do with the most important things: your character, your integrity, your loyalty, your consistency, the standing that I would give human beings. I really haven't found that white people deserve any more or any less standing than than the other people that I've had in my life that don't happen to be white. So white supremacism is just retarded in my eyes. Just totally, it's just not even the least bit tenable. But the critical race theorists will have you believe that whites are superior. They must be superior if they are to be able to construct these magic formulas, whether it's for them Christianity as a form of white supremacism, the Bill of Rights, the very thing that protects the poors against the powerful elites, the billionaires, the Bill of Rights. Yeah, that's white supremacist. All these things were invented by whites to control the world. So what you end up doing is you create a god, a white god, that is both superior and evil. And at the same hand, who is it that is going to rescue the minority from the majority superior race? Well, it's white people. It's good white people like this woman, Alyssa Milano, a self-stating. Well, she wouldn't call herself a dialectical white supremacist, but essentially that's what she is. And this kind of calls her out. Well, I'll get to that. So what you end up with is the white race is the devil that invented evil, and the white race is also the savior for all the other peoples, because it's the white allies that need to come forward, need to willingly sacrifice their powers. They're like Jesus. It's like a perverse form of Jesus, upside-down Christism, which is what you always end up with when you remove Christ. Eventually, you turn the cross upside down, and that's what they've done. They've turned the cross upside down so that the white race is the perverse Jesus. They are the Abraxan Jesus. Abraxas was an Egyptian god, late, somewhere around the turn of the from the transition from BC to AD, somewhere around there. Abraxas emerges as this god who encompasses both good and evil, and that's what the white race is. So white race is Jesus, who is both good and evil, and Jesus must lay down his arms, must be willing to sacrifice his power and his glory so that others in the perverse Jesus can keep on sinning, because in the critical race theory model, it frees anybody who is not white from having to face any sense of accountability to anyone else, because by their very victimhood, they're given special ability to take coercive action against their neighbors that we wouldn't normally allow to others. And Alyssa Milano is absolutely the face of this. She is the celebrity face of dialectical white supremacism. And this they say black woman uses TikTok to expose the. I know why you say black woman, and I don't really like. I mean, I put the title in there, and I'll put the title in this as well, because we're pointing out that the woman that's questioning her is black, and that means something. And I've done it, but I do it with some degree of trepidation, because I really don't like, in general, designating human beings by their race, by the color of their skin. But be that as it may, black woman uses TikTok to expose the actual white supremacism of woke priestess Alyssa Milano. So this is now I chose the first story on here. Black TikTok star calls activist Alyssa Milano a white supremacist. You can be better. A video by black TikTok star Savannah Edwards, in which she calls actress and activist Alyssa Milano a white supremacist and tells Milano that you can be better, has gone viral. Edwards, known as This Savvy on TikTok, posted a reaction to a clip from Milano's Sorry Not Sorry podcast that she just used to call it the Sorry podcast, as in, well, you can work out all the ramifications of the word sorry that I mean there, that she shared to the social platform, in which Milano tells viewers who are not black men to imagine watching the news and seeing how people look like you are betrayed. And then she counters, imagine being a black man and being told by some white lady with a microphone that you and the criminals on TV are one and the same because you look alike. You don't have to be a white supremacist. You can be better. And I could go, I'll just read a couple of more headlines that I gathered here from Red State. We have black woman takes truth blowtorch to Alyssa Milano, woke white ladies. Alyssa Milano says celebrities could help end pandemic. We could reach people in ways that Dr. Fauci maybe can't. So this is her whole notion that she just has this preconceived notion that somehow celebrities should continue to be the priest kings of the land. That's what she wants to be. She wants to be a priest king. She wants to go back to the Bronze Age. She wants to go back to the days of Sargon of Akkad. She wants to be Sargon of Akkad, or at least his high priestess. At the very least, his high priestess. Alyssa, let's see. Alyssa Milano hits back at washed-up actors' comments from trolls, PerthNow.com. Well, she is, in fact, in the truest sense of the word, washed-up actress. She's I don't know the last time she's been in a movie, but she trades in her celebrity that was born from her being an actress, and she uses that to assume that gives her special priestess powers, that you should somehow listen to these priestesses. So I think it's a fair critique. Of course, she likes to put her opinions out there, but she doesn't like it so much when she suffers the consequences of her opinions. By the way, consequences of your opinion is not burning down a building or committing market murder against you. Consequences of your speech are, well, I don't really like that, I'll give you a counter, or okay, well, I just won't associate with you. Not, and by the way, associate with you is one thing, but for corporate powers to utilize their significant power advantage to murder people in the marketplace, well, that's a whole level up than some individual just deciding, I might not want to associate with you. But that being that, never mind. I knew this was going to be a long segment, longer than most, and we've already hit over the 8-minute mark, so I'm going to leave it here. But I do want to say this is a topic that I could go into much depth on, and I wish that there was some way that I can convince human beings, especially those that fall into this horrible ideology, that you're actually committing. You are the white supremacists that you're fighting. You absolutely are. You are propelling, preserving, and extending the myth that white people are superior. And if you're white, you're not superior. There's nothing great about the white race anymore. I mean, we have some good qualities, some bad qualities, whatever. But if you look throughout human history, almost just about every race has examples of good and bad. And if you know human beings that are of different races, then you're going to find that the color of their skin bears little in terms of the human beings that you will find who are authentic with you, who are trustworthy, who have integrity, who have character, who demonstrate virtue. That's not at all dependent upon race, and I've never found in any way, shape, or form any perception that the people that were of one particular race or this particular race were anything other than individuals who make individual decisions. I'll end it here. If you think Biden is president, false prophet Robin Bullock declares you are sin. And I'm going to call this Robin Bullock thinks you are in sin for recognizing Biden as president. And I just want to make sure before I start this, I want to make sure, because I'm using a number of links on here that you'll see that are not from Christians. But I want you to understand that while non-Christians will gleefully use this man, Robin Bullock, to try to lead people away from the one true King, Christ, there are tons of Christians out there. I mean, this isn't even like, oh, well, most Christians, and no. I wouldn't even be surprised if most Christians reject this man and reject the things that he said, and reject all of the false prophets who declared that they think he's Christ. They act like he's Christ. Trump, and this is no reflection on whatever you feel about Donald Trump. I know we have a lot of Trump supporters watching and paying attention, and we very much appreciate the time that you take to listen to us. So, and this isn't a reflection of Donald Trump itself. It's a reflection of the people who follow him, and not all people, just a certain small niche of people, specifically a certain small, I'll say, significant minority of Christian conservatives who follow Donald Trump and have equated Trump in some way, shape, or form with either Cyrus the Great or Jesus himself in a lot of ways. Although they wouldn't say it, they certainly act like it. But I just want to play this real briefly. This is something from, what is his name? Let's see.
Hey everybody, Sean here, and I hope you're...
This is Sean from Revealing Truth. This is what we're going to be playing here. So why aren't you playing the sound here? Today's prophets. Here we go.
The Lord told me. He said, now the fight has left the heavens, and it's in the earth. Now it's in the earth.
The Lord told you nothing.
Now we are
Stop
in a
lying.
full-on spiritual war.
We're always
On
in a
the sixth,
spiritual
it
war.
was still in the heavens, but after that day, it dropped into the earth.
So he is literally telling us that there's been this significant change. February 6, 2021. That's when they ratified the election and they had the, whether it's Capitol riots or whatever you want to call it.
Would call, now listen close to this, what we would call an administration is not one at all. There is no...
This is whatever you feel about the election. I, for one, do not approve of a republic ever having a mass mail-or election. Joe Biden is the president of the United States. Joe Biden, whether he was elected or not, it doesn't really matter. And it's the reality of power, and God is in control. So the reality of power is his reality of power. And in that reality of power, Joe Biden has real power, real presidential power. Not Donald Trump, Joe Biden. He is your president. He is my president. I don't have to like the president to acknowledge that he's my president. And he's my president in the sense that I live in this land, and this land is governed by the United States government, led by Joe Biden.
Administration right this moment in the White House. Now, I'm just telling you straight up, there's not one there. Now, you say, well, what are you talking about, Brother Robin? That sounds crazy. Well, I'm about to explain myself.
Robin found a way.
Be talking about all this today. Until the Lord
yeah,
said
you
I
did.
was.
Of course you. No, the Lord didn't
There's
tell you that.
not an administration in the
What told you that was, oh man, I gotta protect myself because I've made certaintarian claims, and now my certaintarian claims have proven to be lies. So now I have to invent more lies to protect my lies. This is why certaintarianism is death. I'm not certain of very many things in life. I don't stand much on certainty. I do stand on the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I stand on the hypostatic nature of Christ. He's both God and man. I stand on the notion that Christ died for my sins so that I could be resolved back to the whole Godhead. I stand on the testimony of the Old and New Testaments alike, and that all of it points to the cross and points back. It points to the cross and then back to the cross, forwardly and backwardly. It's all centered around the cross, and the cross is, to me, the total expression of the full Godhead, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And I stand on that with certainty. I stand on the certainty of Scripture as being the infallible Word of God, even as I understand the messy way in which Scripture emerged. I stand on those things. Outside of that, there's very few things I stand on. And one of the reasons I don't stand so much is because I understand that I don't have any right to say with certainty hardly anything. And when I do, if I build a power around certainty, I already know that I'm lying. If I'm claiming certainty, I'm almost always lying. And if I claim certainty, then that means my enemies will be able to attack me and undermine me by exposing my lies, as is happening with Robin Bullock. And when that happens, what do you have to do? Lies beget lies. Coercion begets coercion, if you will. And that's the world that Robin Bullock has put himself in.
White House or in the Capitol. When the war left the heavens and came to the ground, this so-called administration is actually a regime whose sole purpose is to stop a prophecy from coming to pass. That's what it is. See, when King Saul
this is not prophecy, this is human nature.
Samuel,
Right.
Today, your kingdom has been taken from you. Today. But it was years after that before Saul left office. But Samuel said,
the man testified that the Lord told him that Donald Trump would win the election. No equivocation, nothing. And now this man is using Scripture, bastardizing Scripture to protect his false prophecy. And I tell you, if you love Donald Trump, don't listen to this man, especially if you love Donald Trump and Christ. That's the most important thing. Loving Christ is far more important than loving Trump. But I don't begrudge you loving Trump. But if you love Trump and you love Christ, do not listen to Robin Bullock. Accept the reality of power. Joe Biden is president. Donald Trump is not. There's not going to be a coup. There's not going to be some sudden not even last minute, post-minute discovery that's going, because this truth does not matter in most nation-state paradigms, only when it conveniences the power that is. So even if you're right, even if the election was a total fraud, it's never going to be exposed as long as these people are in power, and they're not going to get out of power voluntarily. And the U.S. military is wholly and completely on board with the U.S. government. They made that clear on January 6th when they didn't do anything to stop an election from being certified that was run through a mass mailer. I mean, they should have acted then. That's when they should have acted, and they didn't. So that's your reality of power. That's what God has chosen for us. This is, to me, Robin Bullock is like all the false prophets that says, let's go down to Egypt. And God was saying, don't go down to Egypt. Take what you have coming to you. And that's where we're at. Take what you have coming to you. This is our land, and God has chosen to put us in this position. And we should embrace, we shouldn't embrace like, let's just accept it and keep the situation where it's at. But we should embrace the conditions that God has presented to us and figure out how he is moving in the suffering that he is allowing on this land. Not listen to these false prophets. And I think I'll end it there. Where am I at? I went too far. Okay, here we go. Next story here. Biden admin signals that Afghan pullout isn't actually a pullout as Trump peace plan shattered. And I'm going to call this Trump Afghanistan peace plan to become Biden's non-peace plan. And this is from our editor's choice report. So the Biden peace plan inherited from Trump won't be honored, says Blinken. And this is Biden Afghanistan peace talks plan. Blinken pull out. Blinken. I do love the last name Blinken. I don't know. I think it's a great last name. Blinken. It sounds like a friendly person. Should be a first name. Hi, my name is Blinken. Not a last name, a first name. You know what? I like it as a first name, as a last name. No. Should be Blinken. I'm going to call myself Blinken. No. I'm going to call myself Paul. You can call me Paul. But still, I don't know. If I was named Blinken, I wouldn't complain. I know that's a total distraction, but it's probably more important than this. Or maybe not. Blinken says Trump pull out from Afghanistan doesn't mean we're leaving, from SputnikNews.com. There you go. Now remember, Sputnik News is Russian propaganda site, so duly noted. So U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says there will still be U.S. presence in Afghanistan after the pullout of American forces is completed. And he says, we've been engaged in Afghanistan for 20 years, and we sometimes forget why we went there in the first place. And that was to deal with the people who attacked us on 9/11. No, it was to make money. It was to make money and create power for the corporate state nationalists. That's what it was for. They used 9/11 as the vehicle of power to get all of us to enter into that with them. So that was their moral outrage, which justified moral outrage at people who flew buildings flew planes into buildings that murdered thousands of people. Justified moral outrage, but it went to the wrong. It was focused in the wrong direction, as is usual. And the real powers behind whatever happened on 9/11, other than the people who actually flew the planes, most likely the real powers haven't suffered the consequences. And no, I'm not saying I'm not going down a 9/11 conspiracy rabbit hole. I don't think you need a 9/11 conspiracy rabbit hole to understand that 9/11 it wasn't necessarily an inside job, but it was a job that could have easily been stopped. I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, they created the moral outrage, which was easy to do. Like I said, moral outrage at human beings just murdering 3,000 other human beings for whatever reason. Yeah, that's justified moral outrage, but they created a moral outrage that was pinned at a whole people group, basically everybody in the Middle East. And they wanted to subhumanize everybody in the Middle East so that they could go and they could test their toys on the lives of human beings, overwhelmingly, mostly innocent human beings. Most human beings, wherever you're born, there you are. And you have very little opportunity to discover that where you're born isn't really the totality of what is, and you become whatever you're born into, because you just don't have time to contemplate and meditate and figure out exactly who you are, you become the person that your culture says that you should become. So even the people that may have supported 911 that lived in these lands, I still consider them innocent victims. The only real guilty are the ones on high that know that it's all BS and that they're just manipulating humans for their own personal power. And this was all about the personal power, always is personal power of a few people. So 911 gave them the helped them create a boogeyman that we all fell for. Well, most of us did. I certainly did. And from that, we were glued to our TV screens and watched Iraq getting bombed, and we felt like power, American power. We're putting the ghost of Vietnam to bed because we finally have a clear victory. That's kind of how many of us felt about it. And even now, you know, I've repented of my sins for those days. So I've done that. And then he continues, and we did just because our troops are coming home doesn't mean we're leaving. We're not. And we're going to be covering this, continuing to watch this. And we did a story some time ago where we talk about how what Biden is really doing is he's making the Afghan war not a public war but a private war. And he's kind of in a pick. And the reason why, well, I think first and foremost the reason why they're doing that is because Trump's peace plan is wildly popular with the American people. And it's Trump that really did want to get out of Afghanistan. And they never wanted to get out of Afghanistan. They resisted, even when he announced it. We had people resisting it. I know we had a couple of members in the GOP, but mostly in the DNC. They're the ones that were resisting this peace plan. They don't want out of Afghanistan because Afghanistan is money. Afghanistan is a proving ground for them to be able to test their toys. And this is what nation states that have the power to do so always do. Whenever they can, they like to be involved in distant wars that allow them to test their toys. So they're testing their toys on the flesh of others that aren't their citizens, not because they love their citizens more, but because they're more concerned about what their citizens might do in reaction to being killed. The Iraqi people don't have the power to stop the U.S. government like the U.S. people do. So it's better to kill Iraqis than it is Americans. And I think, I don't know. I think I'm going to leave it at that. And, well, I'll just read a couple more headlines here. So from Breitbart, we have the left loves the power over speech big tech has. This is like I said, this is our editor's choice report. So check out some of these stories. You can read them for yourself. China releases first superscale AI model. This is from Synced. Chad Junta names transition government from France 24. Is press freedom incompatible with gender empowerment? From globalissues.org. Yes, that's a serious question, quote-unquote serious question that people are asking. All of these could be their own segments. Philippines vows to continue maritime exercises in South China Sea from News 24. And finally, Iran, U.S. agreed to prisoner swap and release of frozen funds. It's this is todayonline.com. Now I put this in there, and I should have other things in there, but I just put this in there, kind of agitprop, because now the U.S. is saying no, we didn't do that. I don't know. We'll figure out fact from fiction as the day goes on. Myanmar junta continues to see power degrade as resistance rises. Or alternatively, Myanmar junta under siege as rebels claim military helicopter shot down. So this is Myanmar coup protests 4 months. This is 4 months into their protest of this coup that took place. And from Reuters we get Myanmar rebel group says it shot down military helicopter. An excerpt from that, the Kachin Independence Army, one of Myanmar's most powerful rebel groups, said on Monday it had shot down a helicopter after returning fire following airstrikes by the military, an official at the group said. The United Nations estimates that tens of thousands of civilians have fled their homes as a result of fighting between the military and ethnic minority insurgents in remote northern and eastern frontier regions. The conflict intensified after Myanmar's generals seized power on February 1st, ousting the elected government led by Aung San Suu Kyi. Now, you know what? I am done with this. I have been saying Myanmar. I still can't get what it is. So let's do this. Let's go to Let's see if we can have a spelling. Myanmar. Oh, let me go to google.com because I think Google hopefully will have. Let's see if you have Myanmar. So let's see. Do you have Myanmar? No. All right. Myanmar pronunciation. Let's do that. All right. Here we go. Ready?
Myanmar.
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 Myanmar. All right. Let's say Myanmar then. So, let's go on. That was needed, folks. Myanmar protesters mark 3 months since military coup as UN warns of standstill. This is from globalnews.ca. That's Canadian. I don't know why that matters. I think it might. Protesters, maybe not. Protesters against military rule marched as Myanmar on Saturday, 3 months after a coup ended a democratic transition, with several small blasts compounding a sense of crisis that a UN envoy warned could bring state administration to a halt. The military has tried to end dissent and impose its authority on a people largely opposed to the return of rule by the generals after 10 years of democratic reforms that included a government led by democracy champion Aung San Suu Kyi. I don't know how you pronounce Kyi, K-Y-I. How do you pronounce that? Kyi? Despite a relentless crackdown in which at least 750 named protesters have been killed, way more than that, but whatever. According to the Assistance Association, and that's speculation on my part, it's way more than that, but I think it's a reasonable speculation. According to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners advocacy group, crowds come out day after day to reject the junta. This is from channelnewsasia.com. Thousands rally against, I'm sorry, I coughed, that's terrible. Coughed into the microphone, please forgive me. Thousands rally against Myanmar. Hold on.
Myanmar.
All right. Just get that down. Myanmar. So, Myanmar security forces thousands rally against Myanmar junta calling for spring revolution. Myanmar's security forces opened fire on some of the biggest anti-coup protests on Sunday, May 2nd, killing 7 people, media reported, 3 months after the coup plunged the country into crisis. The protest, after a spell of dwindling crowds and what appeared to be more restraint by security forces, were coordinated with demonstrations in Myanmar communities around the world to mark what organizers call the global Myanmar Spring Revolution. You know, I don't know about using that phrase, spring revolution, because a lot of those spring revolutions haven't gone so well. The mess that is Syria began with a spring revolution, and it ended in probably millions of humans being killed, at least hundreds of thousands of human beings being killed, millions displaced, millions of lives significantly diminished, all in the name of nothing but the interest of the corpo-state nationalists and the nation-state nationalists that were using Syria as their toy, as their little play. Well, they got to test their toys. This is what I've said even just in this show. If you're watching the whole show, Syria was a great place for all of these corpo-state nationalists and nation-state nationalists to test their toys on. So they were murdering human beings and utilizing their toys in innovative ways. The really drone warfare gets its earliest starts in any kind of significant scale in Syria. And what's going on around the world right now, is still going on in Libya, for instance. Libya has turned out to be one of the biggest biggest testing grounds for the development of drone warfare by these centralized authorities, I'll just say. So let's just go on. We're running out of time here. Myanmar enters 4th month under junta with bomb blasts, flash mobs from France 24. From ctvnews.ca, Myanmar protesters march 3 months after coup. UN warns of standstill. NDTV.com, Myanmar protest aim to shake the world, 7 killed. That's just That's the Sunday that they referred to, and Sunday, May 2nd. And then 7 killed, again, the May 2nd incident in firing at Myanmar Spring Revolution protests from scmp.com. And then finally, Myanmar protesters raise voices to shake the world. More mystery blasts from todayonline.com. And I guess we're going to leave it at that. So there you go, folks. That's the totality of the show. I want to thank everybody for joining us here on our Black and Gold Freedomist YouTube channel. And if you're not subscribed, you better subscribe, like, and comment, and share, and blah, 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 blah. And also, make sure that you actually go to Freedomist.com and sign up. Join one of our plans. We got $15 a month plan, $25 a month plan, $45 a month plan. Got it all, man. We got it all. There's also free subscriptions available so you can make sure that you get the latest stuff sent to your email box every day. So there's all kinds of stuff. And then, stop using Drudge. Drudge is one of the corporate state nationalist sites. It's, even if you're conservative, you don't want to use Drudge. Drudge is not conservative. Drudge is corporate state nationalist. Use us. Goes to freedomist.com/NW, or just go to freedomist.com and then find the link at the right-hand corner that says Newswatch page. And what you get updated throughout the day, and this is a site that, as a matter of fact, when I'm done with this show, I will be going and providing more updates throughout the day. And so you can keep going back throughout the day and getting more updates. And we have topics that we give closer scrutiny to, so you can get within those topics. You get multiple links to multiple sites. So again, you can do an evaluation of what is based upon the totality of how all these sites are reporting it. And when you do look at these sites, almost all of them, just about all of them, with some exception, just about all of them are fundamentally, they are agitprop. They are not seeking to serve you. They are not seeking to serve you where you are. They're seeking to use news as a means of manipulating to create in you something that they want you to be. They want to make you in their image. And now, we on Freedomist.com, to some degree, we would like to influence who you might be, but not so that you look like us, because if you look like me, you're in trouble. And I don't mean my physical appearance, I mean my whole appearance. We're hoping that you would seek to look more like Christ. Christ is the only image in you that matters. And so I can't say that we're totally exempt from this category. And you should, especially if you're not a Christian, view us with a degree of skepticism as well. But be that as it may, what we provide for you is opportunities to look at things from multiple sources, and then you can kind of come up with your own conclusions. Read everything like it's agitprop, and agitprop can tell you truth. Even when somebody lies to you, they tell you truth that they don't intend to tell you. And that's what we hope to help you understand and see. And with that, I'm going to bid you adieu. I will see you tomorrow about the same time, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I thank everybody that took the time to watch the live show. And if you're watching the replay show, I thank you for watching the replay show as well. And with that, I